Have you ever noticed how even a short walk in the afternoon sun can leave you feeling completely drained these days? It's not just you. As we get older, our bodies become far less efficient at regulating temperature. What used to feel like a pleasant summer breeze can now easily turn into a long day of discomfort and fatigue. And let's be honest, staying indoors with the fan pointed straight at your face isn't exactly the way most of us pictured enjoying our retirement. That's why so many seniors in Japan have become fond of a simple little habit that cools the body down in just 2 minutes. No expensive gadgets, no pills, and no complicated routines. You've probably heard about traditional Japanese longevity practices, but this one is incredibly easy and surprisingly effective. It's often referred to as the ice water trick, and it has helped countless older adults stay comfortably cool throughout even the hottest days of summer. Before we dive into what it is and exactly how to do it, let's talk about why it works so well. As we age, the blood vessels near the surface of our skin don't expand and contract as quickly as they used to. That makes it harder for our bodies to release excess heat. Imagine trying to let steam escape from a kettle with a tight lid. No matter how hot it gets, very little air is allowed out. That's exactly what's going on under the surface, and it's why so many seniors struggle with heat exhaustion, even when they drink plenty of water. Now here's where the ice water trick starts to make sense. Cooling one specific area of the body, and doing it in a very particular way, sends an immediate signal to the brain to activate the body's natural cooling response. You might think the best thing to do is pour cold water all over yourself or hold ice against your forehead. But according to researchers in Osaka, cooling only the inner wrists for 1 to 2 minutes creates a much stronger response. Why? Because the inner wrists are filled with tiny blood vessels that are especially close to the surface of the skin. When they're cooled rapidly, it's like sending a message to the brain: we're overheating. Time to bring the temperature down. One elderly woman from Kyoto explained it in the most charming way. She said, "I used to sit with a wet towel on my head and nothing happened. Then my neighbor told me to let the cold water kiss my wrists. It felt strange at first, but 5 minutes later I didn't feel the heat anymore." It's a simple image, but that little kiss made all the difference. So here's how the first step works. First thing in the morning, ideally before the sun is at its highest, fill a small bowl or cup with ice cold water. You can use a few ice cubes or keep a bottle of water in the refrigerator overnight. Dip one wrist into the water and slowly rotate it so that the cold touches every part of the inside of your wrist. Keep it there for about 30 seconds, then repeat with the other wrist. You might feel a slight tingling sensation. That's completely normal. What's happening is that the blood vessels are constricting ever so slightly, signaling to the body to move warm blood away from the skin and cool itself down from the inside. Once you've done both wrists, dry them gently and go on with your morning as usual. Most people begin to feel a difference within just a few minutes. Almost like the heat has lifted slightly from the shoulders. The body has basically been reset to a cooler operating temperature, and this effect lasts far longer than splashing cold water on your face. From there, it becomes much easier to stay cool throughout the day. But there's another little addition that makes this method even more powerful. Many Japanese seniors keep a small thermos or bottle filled with ice water nearby, and repeat the same wrist cooling technique later in the day, especially after returning from a walk or finishing a household chore. Think of it as a tiny refresh button. One retired teacher in Nara described how she started doing it after watering her plants in the garden. She said, "I come back inside, sit down, and give my wrists a little ice bath. It's like the tiredness just melts away. The important thing here is consistency. It doesn't take long, but those small 2-minute intervals are enough to keep your body in a stable, comfortable state. And because the wrists are such a sensitive area, the signal to the brain is much stronger than if you were to simply splash water onto your arms or neck. It's a beautifully simple way to work with your body instead of against it. Many seniors notice that not only do they stay cooler, but they also feel less fatigued, more alert, and even sleep better because their internal temperature stays balanced throughout the day. One other thing you may find helpful is pairing the wrist cooling with a slow, steady breathing pattern. While your wrist is in the ice water, try inhaling slowly through the nose and exhaling gently through the mouth. This naturally helps regulate your heart rate and increases the overall cooling response of the body. Think of it almost like giving your body a little reminder that everything is safe and relaxed. A gentleman from Yokohama, who taught Tai Chi for over 40 years, said it best. The ice cools the skin. The breath cools the heart. The beauty of this method is that it doesn't interfere with anything else you do throughout the day. You can still enjoy a walk, prepare lunch, read a book, or chat with friends. It simply gives your body a head start in dealing with the heat. And once you start doing it regularly, it becomes as natural as brushing your teeth in the morning. Now, once you've made the wrist cooling a part of your daily routine, there's another small adjustment you can make that dramatically extends the cooling effect without adding any extra effort. Once the wrist cooling feels like a natural part of your day, the next thing to consider is when you drink your cold water. Most people assume that sipping chilled water whenever they feel thirsty is enough, but timing it correctly can actually enhance the body's natural cooling ability. In Japan, many older adults practice something called anticipatory hydration. Rather than waiting for thirst to hit, which is often a delayed signal, they drink a small glass of cold water before stepping outside or beginning an activity. Even something as simple as folding laundry or cooking lunch. When cold water moves through the esophagus, it gently cools the blood circulating through the chest area. That cooled blood is then carried throughout the body, creating a subtle but noticeable drop in overall temperature. Think of it like turning the air conditioning on before the room gets hot, rather than scrambling to cool it down once it's already uncomfortable. One senior in Sapporo said she takes a small sip of cold water just before walking to the mailbox. It's a very short walk. She smiled, but the water gives me a little shield. I come back and still feel fresh. You don't need to drink a full glass. In fact, too much water at once can make some people feel bloated. Just 2 or 3 sips are enough to trigger this gentle cooling effect. What matters most is building the habit of doing it before the heat starts to build. Try keeping a small bottle in the refrigerator and take a sip before you go outside, fold clothes, or even move from one room to another if the house feels warm. Over time, your body learns to expect that small cool down and responds more quickly. As you begin combining the wrist cooling with anticipatory hydration, you might notice something interesting. The heat still exists, but it doesn't seem to affect you the same way it used to. You walk a little farther without feeling exhausted. You move around the kitchen without needing to sit down halfway through. The body becomes more resilient, like it finally remembers how to take care of itself in warm weather. Some seniors like to take it even one step further. After cooling their wrists and taking those few cold sips, they spend a minute holding the cold bottle gently against the back of the neck or behind the knees. Both of these areas contain pressure points filled with blood vessels close to the surface. It's a bit like adding an extra layer of protection. One man from Osaka, now in his late 70s, shared that he keeps a small, reusable ice pack in his freezer just for this purpose. I hold it behind my knees for a minute before heading out, he explained. People think I'm strange, but I can walk twice as far in the summer without feeling tired. That's the beauty of these simple Japanese methods. They're built on the idea that small, intentional actions can keep us in balance all day long. You don't need fancy equipment or complicated routines. You just need to work with your body's natural responses. And once you've felt how effective this can be, it becomes second nature. Cooling the wrists, taking those few cold sips before activity, placing a chilled bottle behind the knees for a moment like a quiet ritual. It may sound simple, but it gives the body exactly what it needs to stay calm and cool, even when the sun is at its strongest. Now that you've created a cooling foundation through these tiny habits, there's one more element, widely used by older adults in Japan, that ties everything together and helps sustain the cooling effect throughout the entire day. Once you've incorporated the wrist cooling and timely sips of cold water into your daily routine, the final element is something most Japanese seniors describe as carrying the shade with you. It doesn't mean staying indoors all day or walking around with a giant umbrella. Unless you like umbrellas, of course. It's about choosing lightweight, breathable fabrics that actually repel heat rather than absorb it. A small shift that keeps your internal temperature stable even hours after you've finished the ice water trick. Many people don't realize it, but the material your clothing is made from makes a huge difference in how your body handles heat. Cotton, for example, is soft and comfortable, but it tends to hold moisture and trap heat close to the skin. That's why so many seniors in Japan started switching to natural, airy fabrics like linen or bamboo fiber. These materials allow air to circulate freely around the body, which means the cooling effect from the wrists and cold water can spread and stay active for much longer. One retired fisherman from Okinawa described it beautifully. He said, "It's like leaving the window open for a cool breeze to pass through your shirt." His wife even started making her own loose-fitting linen tops after she realized she was sweating far less during her morning walks. The ice water trick cooled her down, and the linen kept her cool. You don't need to change your entire wardrobe. Start with one lightweight shirt or a loose linen blouse that you wear during the warmer parts of the day. Avoid dark colors during summer, since they absorb more heat. Instead, use soft neutrals, light blue, beige, or even light gray, which reflect sunlight and keep the body from getting too warm in the first place. When paired with the wrist cooling and anticipatory sips, this simple fabric change can make you feel as if the temperature has dropped by several degrees, even when it hasn't. Another small thing you can do is try to stay in the habit of moving slowly. This might sound obvious, but many of us grew up rushing around, picking up groceries, cleaning the house, finishing everything quickly. In high heat, that old instinct can actually raise your internal temperature faster than you realize. In Japan, many seniors practice yokari no yugoki, which means slow movement. It simply means taking your time, treating each action like it deserves its own moment. Walk a little slower. Pause between tasks. Breathe deeply as you move from room to room. It's a gentle mindset shift that keeps the body from slipping into a heated, stressed state. So, when you combine the ice water cooling on the wrists, a few cold sips before activity, a breathable layer of portable shade on your skin, and a calm, unhurried pace, your body stops fighting the heat and starts cooperating with it. Little by little, you begin to feel more stable, more refreshed, more confident that the day won't overwhelm you. The most inspiring part is that none of these changes require big effort. Just small choices, consistently repeated. And when those choices become habits, they create a powerful shield against the kind of exhaustion that summer often brings. Remember, even small changes can lead to a healthier and happier life. If you decide to try this Japanese method, I would love to hear how it works for you. Feel free to share your experience or any other cooling tips you use down in the comments. And if this video helped you, don't forget to like it and subscribe. There are many more simple, science-backed tips coming your way. Here's to living your best years with comfort, confidence, and joy, even on the hottest days of the year.